All right, hello. Hopefully you guys can see me too. This is kind of bizarre because I feel like I'm having a one-way conversation, but hopefully we can get some interaction here, and we'll see how this goes. But welcome to the second virtual office hours, and I think what I'm going to do today is, I guess, quickly introduce myself. Do a quick walkthrough of the assignment, and then we'll maybe go a little bit beyond the assignment. I'll show you guys a couple things that I think are interesting. And also, this is going to be put on YouTube too. So if anyone doesn't make it, it will be archived, and perhaps it'll be of some value to someone else at some other later time. I think that's it. So I'm going to get started. So I'm Josh. I'm your instructor, and I met a couple of you through email and on the forums, and I look forward to interacting with you guys more over the next few weeks. The first assignment or it's not the first assignment, the first mapping assignment, assignment number 5. It's really pretty simple. It's basically creating your own first map with QGIS. And that's what I'm going to walk through right now. So let's jump over. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll take a quick look at the requirements. I'd like you to make a map using Quantum GIS. You have two options. You could either download the data that's provided here, down at this link, or else you can use your own data if you have it of your own region or area of interest. There is also this tutorial here. I don't know if you guys have taken a look at this. It's really good. But unfortunately, it's a bit out of date. And that's the problem you have with software. It's immediately obsolete as soon as you write a book, create a tutorial, put something on the web, and so on and so forth. I'm going to work in the spirit of this tutorial here, but we're going to use the latest version of the software. Hopefully that's what you guys have installed. That's what I have installed here. I'm going to be using a Windows 8 machine. I downloaded the most recent copy of QGIS. I also work on a Linux machine, and I this afternoon downloaded the latest version of Linux, and it's totally different. So hopefully most of you guys are working with Windows. If you're working on a Mac, I can't help you very much. I can help you with the concepts, but some of the details you might have to figure out on your own. So are you guys ready for the walkthrough? Would one of you guys mind writing something in the group chat or in the questions, just to acknowledge that I'm not talking into the ether? And while you do that, I'm going to switch over to the QGIS interface. All right, awesome. There might be a little bit of a lag here too. I don't know. This is again, the first time I've used this technology. And I think it's pretty cool. I'm going to open up the QGIS desktop interface. Hopefully you guys have gotten it installed easily, and it was pretty painless to do. If anyone had any issues with that, just shoot me a note or write something on the question board, and I'll try to address that. But it should be pretty easy. If you're just using Windows, it's an installer, no big deal. And actually, the new interface for this is pretty cool, actually, and it's got a lot of new features and bells and whistles that, or it's a lot more intuitive to use, which is awesome. Awesome for you guys just coming into this. So again, here's the interface, and let's go back to the requirements. Oh, I guess the requirements are gone. Here we go. All that you're supposed to do here is get some spatial data and put it in the QGIS interface and send a screenshot of it. Pretty easy. So here we go. Now, bear with me while I switch screens here. Again, the new interface makes this simple and easy. So I believe in the tutorial, it said you had to do something like layer, add vector layer, and add raster layer. It's a lot easier now. Well, actually, let me step back for a second. So anyway, I took the sample data, I downloaded it, and unzipped it into this directory here. You know, I put everything in a work directory, Green Mountain College, assignment 5. And I unzipped it into that directory, and it looks sort of like this. Now, this is really cool, and if any of you guys are, okay, I'm just checking the questions here. ArcMap users, this looks a lot like ArcCatalog in ArcGIS, where you can sort of use this as a Windows Explorer for spatial data. So if you look here, these are your spatial data sets that are in the sample data. And one thing that I'll sort of give a caveat and mention is when you're working with GIS data on your file system, it's very important to be organized because it's very easy, just like anything, I guess, if you're working with, you know, Word documents or you're working with, you know, anything, it gets messy really quick. And when you start working with GIS, you start creating copies of data, and you know, once you start doing like spatial analysis and functions on this data, you do copies of copies, and it becomes a nightmare really quickly. So anyway, just be organized, and that's all I got to say about that. So anyway, like I said, the new interface makes it really easy. You could just do something like this, select them all here, drag them over, and actually, boom, that's done. You took a screenshot of this. The requirement would be fulfilled for the assignment. So, like I said, that's pretty easy, but let me show you a couple other ways to skin the cat. I've moved these down into my table of contents, and I'm going to remove them. So in QGIS and also other GIS packages like ArcGIS, context menus, like right-clicking stuff, is very common. And I used to say way back, I used to teach ArcView, ArcGIS classes, and say, when in doubt, right-click. You always find some sort of feature or something. But anyway, click remove. I'm going to say, yes, I want to remove these guys. So you can also add them one by one. By double-clicking on them, or you could, you know, drag them one by one, obviously, into your table of contents. Again, I'm going to remove these, and you can also, like I mentioned before, and the tutorial mentioned before, add vector layer. Add vector layer. So you go up to layer. Add vector layer. You want to go in your file system. You browse for it. I happen to have gone to this one before, and select the item with the SHP extension. And that way you can add them one by one. And the same for raster layers. I believe this one was called Topo. And hopefully through your reading, so on and so forth, you've found the difference between raster and vector data. You can think of just like on a really high dumbed down level, you know, your raster data is like an image, and your vector data, you think of like your points, lines, or polygons data that has data or attributes behind it that represent discrete features in the real world. And I'm not sure if you played around with this at all. You can like, oops, got ahead of myself here, like drag and drop the order of the things. Like obviously, you know, it makes sense to have your point file underneath or on top of your raster layer, obviously, because it won't show up if you don't. So I've got the E911 points. I'll add the roads. And before, I'm going to add a couple more layers, but let me check on a small screen right now. So let me jump back and check and see if there's any questions. But so far, I'm going to keep working on this and just show you a couple of things. If you have any questions so far about this just real basic concept of adding data to your map, go ahead and fire off a question. If not, I'll just go forward and show you guys a couple more kind of cool things about maybe adding a couple different data types, and also about some strategies for making your map look a little nicer. So I'm going to add a couple more layers to this map, and then fire away if you have a question. And let me dismiss some of these questions here. Okay, so I've cleared the questions, and let me check the group chat here, see if you guys have anything. No, not yet. So just let me know if you do have any other additional questions. Like I said, this is pretty easy, straightforward, and if all you want to do at this point is do print screen and add that to the Dropbox for the class, requirement fulfilled, you get 100% on the assignment. But you guys are here. Obviously interested a little more, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you a couple more things, if that's cool. Or if you want this discussion to be directed another way, just make a comment and I will try to accommodate that. So I'm going to add the roads, the E911, and I think that's it for right now for what I was going to show you. So someone asked me a question via email or on one of the message boards the other day about they added this data and they said that it looked kind of junky, like it was like a big blob. So there's a couple things that you can do with that, or like one strategy that I was going to just demonstrate right now. So one strategy in GIS software, and this is the same concept in ArcGIS, is to leverage something called scale dependency on the layers. So I'm going to, and what scale dependency means is, let's see here, let me just show you at a very simple level. If I double click the layer, I open up the properties dialog, and you can also right-click and get the properties as well. There's always like more than one way to do things, and you just gotta hunt around and find them. So what I mean by scale dependency is you can set the dependency of the visibility of a layer. So right now we're at a scale of 1 to 63,000 feet. I could do something like, you know, not make a visible after 1 to 50,000. And bear with me if I screw this up. So now this isn't visible after 50,000 feet at a smaller scale, but it is when I zoom in to a larger scale. And you can see that when I turn off the topo. So let's zoom back. So this icon up here, this is a good little tip, is to zoom to your last extent. And I'm going to turn back on the default layer, which I think was 1,000,000. Okay, so if we want to do something like not make this so blob-like, we could do something like we could change the properties of this layer. So let's change the symbology, which is again the properties. Go to the style, and let's knock this down to, you know, really small. So I mean, I think that looks, you know, acceptable. You know. I don't want to do that, so let me go back. So let's say this is 1 to 60,000. Right here is the strategy I'm going to show you. Is you duplicate this layer. You might want to make the symbology a little bigger. I'll turn it on just so you see it. And we'll make this guy disappear at 1 scale. And we'll do the same for this one. So what's going to happen here is this layer is visible at this scale, but if you zoom in, you get this separate layer, which is really just a copy of that layer at that scale. So it's really just a copy, but their scale dependency makes them visible at different times. And you could do something like this too, is you can group these guys. Just as a mechanism to organize yourself better. Rename it 911. And if you turn this on and off, you're turning both layers on and off at the same time. So that's another concept that I guess I've snuck in here, is the concept of grouping layers. So you could do something like, it doesn't have to be with scale dependency, it could be something like a transportation layers. You could have your roads, your bike paths, your you know, train tracks, yada yada yada, all grouped into a transportation layer that you turn on and off like that. So let me jump back here and see no questions yet. So that's good. And can you guys still hear me? I'll ask you guys that question, and if someone could just respond back so I know I'm talking to someone. So that is what I wanted to show you, and that was just sort of in response to a question that someone asked me about like how do you cut down on the sort of blobs, the not so nice looking map. So you would do something like that. You would work with scale dependency. The next thing I wanted to show you guys, you guys got a quick introduction to adding vector and raster layers, but there's a whole bunch of different types of layers that you can add. You can add data from databases. You can add layer from imagery, and one of the really cool things you can do is add stuff from the internet. And I'll show you. I'm going to start a new map document. Easiest way to do that is just click this button. I'm not going to save my changes. Start with a blank slate here. One way to do that is if you look down here in your catalog tree, you can see all the different types of data you can add. Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, PostGIS, SpatialLite, which is a database that sits on your file system, Open Web Service, Web Coverage Service, Web Feature Service, and WMS. And what a WMS is what I'm going to show you. It's people own and maintain what's called a GIS server, where they have data and they publish it out onto the internet, and you can consume it in things like QGIS or in custom applications. Awesome. I'm just checking. You can still hear me. Let me know if I'm droning on too much. So anyway, this is data that's served up by a GIS server, and these are some WMS connections. I'm not sure if I added these or these were default with the software. Here is a LizardTech server. I chose this one because it's easy and available. LizardTech, they're an imagery vendor. And I click this, expand it, and it gives me a bunch of WMS services that I have available to me. And I know this one works, Seattle, because I tried it before. If I double-click on it, it's going to bring in some ortho imagery of Seattle, which is kind of cool. And if you hunt around on the internet, I just zoomed in right there to get a better idea of what I'm showing you. And there you go. It took a bit to render, but that's some pretty nice ortho imagery. I have no idea. Oh, that's from LizardTech. Just data that they created and made available to the public over the internet. And you can see here, my internet connection at the house I'm at right now is not the best, so it is a little slow. So I wanted to show you guys that. I'm going to start a new map document and show you something really cool. And the learning moment that I had here today with QGIS and all this stuff, and like I said, how this stuff changes. The tutorials are immediately out of date. This is, again, a whole brand new interface. You know, I'm still getting familiar with it, but I'm liking it. What I've seen, it's way more intuitive than the software used to be. Anyway, I'll get to the point. What I wanted to show you was how you can add OpenStreetMap data and other common data services like Google, Yahoo, and I even saw like Apple Maps was in there today. So going back to the concept of WMS, that really sort of, this is the same concept. You think of things like Google Maps, OpenStreetMap, Yahoo Maps. They just have these GIS servers that they're serving out GIS data. And now, sort of like with, you know, the explosion in spatial on the web and, you know, just in everyone's lives now, these things are becoming more and more common. And the really awesome thing is, you used to have to like write custom programs and JavaScript or, you know, server-side programs to make custom web applications. but now you can use them easily in things like QGIS. So anyway, what the OpenStreetMap is it's a plugin, and there was some discussion about plugins on the message boards. And how to manage your plugins, you go here to Plugins, Manage and Install Plugins. And it will tell you here, like all your plugins, what you have installed, what you don't have installed. And I think you need to install the Open Layers plugin to do that. And if it's not installed by default, you need to do that here. You just like go to Not Installed and you type in Open, and you'll see like Open Layers. But anyway, I was struggling with this because they changed where this interface is. So I installed and uninstalled the plugin like 10 times. I'm like, this is crazy, because I couldn't find it. But anyway, to find it, you don't go to Plugins, which makes no sense. You go to Web, which also makes sense, but you just had to know that. So I learned this recently. So even I'm learning this stuff. Not to say I'm like the greatest person in the world with GIS, but anyway. So you go to Web, Open Layers plugin, and here you can add, like I said, Apple Maps, OpenStreetMaps, Yahoo, Bing, Google. So I'm going to add an OpenStreetMap. Oh, uh-oh. I got an error. Crazy. Uh-oh. That's not good. Let me try to add a Google map, see if that works. Okay, let me restart QGIS. Never seen that before, but that's all part of the game, I guess. So let me go back, and I'll probably have to reshare the software. I'm booting up QGIS. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions, let me know. So here we go. Let's see here, QGIS. Okay, I'm going to share it again. Web, Open Layers plugin, OpenStreetMap. Okay, it's doing something, I think. Awesome. There you go. So we have rendered OpenStreetMap. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here to the northeast. And you could add like a Google map or Yahoo map or something, just the same manner. So I know that the Vermont stuff is going to be up here, so I'm just getting my extent over there. And what I could do is go over to the data I just downloaded and go to assignment 5, and let's add the Rutland E911 data. So there you can see it was added to the map. You can zoom in. It's got a render. And there you go. So let's zoom in so it looks a little nicer. So, I mean, this is like awesome. Like back in the day, you used to have to like create your own base maps with, the boundary files, and the roads, and the streams, and the water, and the blah, and the blah, and the blah. Like now, this stuff is like you have a map up in like 30 seconds. You have to go to a public meeting or something. You don't screw around with creating your base map or keeping your base map like up to date or so on and so forth. So I just think that's really cool stuff that you can do with the new, I guess what they call the GeoWeb and GIS. So I think that was really the big things that I wanted to show you. Again, adding the data, making the map, pretty easy. You can use this interface here, drag and drop, double click. That looks horrible. Or you can use the layer menu to do the same thing. And really all you got to do is create your screenshot and send it in. But if you wanted to futz around with a cartography or scale dependency, or dive as deep as you want to, we're going to do that later in the course. But as much as you want to do, that would be awesome. And with that, I think that's it for my talking. Okay, there's a question here. How did I get rid of that error? It showed up for me when I tried to open a Google Street Map. So what I did, let's take a look at my map, and let's try to recreate the error. I probably won't be able to. It was some sort of Python error, and I'll be honest, I didn't read it, and I didn't really care to understand what it was. But here, let's Google Map, Google Physical Map. That looks like it's going to work. I'm not sure what happened. What I did to solve it was I closed QGIS and reopened it, and it seemed to work. So that worked for me. And sorry, I don't have a better explanation for it. So okay, I'm going to select that one and dismiss the question from Brittany. Hopefully, Brittany, that answers your question. And I'd say restart QGIS. That sounds like a dumb answer, but like that was always like when I worked and taught ArcGIS, it was like just restart the software. So sorry, that's as best as I can give. Maybe the next time I see it, or if you want to show me a screenshot, I could take a look and see what it was, and we could pinpoint it. Anyway, so okay, let me take care of this one. And okay, when I go to web, the only option I have is metasearch from Cary. So that might mean that your plugin is not installed. So if you go up here to plugin, manage and install plugins, I'll go to here to installed, and see here is Open Layers plugin. Let me tick this off. Okay, and close this, and let me see if I can recreate what you got. Okay, so there, you don't have it. So you might need to go to here and enable it, or like let me uninstall the plugin. Just so if it is the case that it doesn't ship with the plugin, you can add it. So you can see here I don't have the plugin. I go to plugins, manage, install plugins. I go to installed. I don't see the Open Layers plugin. I need to go to all. I type in Open Layers plugin. Make sure that's double-clicked or highlighted, selected. Install it. It will download it and install it. Okay, looks good. Let me check. Just installed. Looks awesome. That it works. It's going to work. There it is. Close my dialog. Go to web, and there it is. Hopefully that answered your question. But if it didn't, we can work with you more to get it taken care of. So yeah, really that's it. If you have any more questions, shoot them over the question board here, Q&A board, or the group chat, or I'll hang out for a couple more minutes here. You can also private message me or give me a call. I've got today blocked out till around 6 p.m. And I'm usually available to most times to answer questions. So happy to do so. So I'm going to stop talking here for a second, and I'll hang out. And I want to thank you for coming, and hopefully this was somewhat helpful. Okay. Brittany said closing her software fixed it. I'm glad that's the case. I'll have to look out for that error again. So, okay, thank you again, and I'll hang out for a bit. If you have any more questions, or email me, hit me up on Google+, or give me a call. All right, thank you. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to add an Apple map just for fun because I've never seen an Apple map. Apple Maps doesn't seem to be working too well. I'll look into that.